Hi everybody, so today we're going to have a look at the electrical systems on the California Coast and Ocean. They're pretty much identical. We've done lots of videos on this before. We'll post some links to the ones that we've looked at, because how the vehicles work and what they do is no different between this and the 6 model, and in fairness actually with the 5 as well. There's no real differences with those, but we are just going to have a quick talk through things like the control panel, and there's a few little extra things that you can get on this which to do with the electric side of it and plugging in as well. So obviously the vehicle's got 2 leisure batteries. Again, that's on the coast and the ocean. There's no differences there. When you plug into the side, so you plug your electrics actually into the side of the vehicle, the only thing that electric is doing 2 things. So it's starting your 240 volt socket, which is on your cabinet, so it's powering that direct, so you can plug anything in there to work off mains. And then the other thing it's doing is charging the batteries which are in the vehicle. So things like your fridge isn't a 3-way fridge or anything like that. It's a 12 volt fridge. It only works on 12 volts. And it runs off those 2 leisure batteries. Obviously when you plug in the side, that's then charging the leisure batteries, and that's what's using it to power those things. So everything on the vehicle uses a 12 volt supply that's in the particular vehicle, with the exception of that plug socket on the side. That's the only thing you're actually doing when you're actually plugging that socket into the side there. So to start with your exterior pockets, I'm not going to plug something in. I've done this lots of times before, but there's your plug. You plug your plug socket in. The other end of it will be plugged onto the campsite end, or at home, or wherever the case is that's on there, and then that relates back into your breakers, which are inside the vehicle. We'll show you those now. And the key thing to remember with those is red is on and green is off, which is, most people are not used to that, because at home it's the other way around. But the idea being, I think it's a European thing, and red is danger, thus being on. It's indicating on that basis. I'd leave them on all the time, because it only works when you're plugged in anyway. It's on there, but if it's not working, that's where to go to. You know if you're plugged in and it's all working fine on the 6.1, because you'll get the battery light in orange light up straight on your console. You might have even seen it on some of the videos we've done in the past as well, so you know you'll be plugged in and it will be charging as well. So just before we get into the vehicle, what other things does this power use? So obviously all your sockets that's in the vehicle, so things like your car sockets, your 12 volt sockets, are obviously all coming off the batteries that's in the vehicle as well. Things like all your lights that are on here are all working off the auxiliary batteries that's there. Your fridge, which I mentioned before, your auxiliary heater, obviously that's actually a diesel heater, but it's using the power from the batteries, the fans which push the air around that come out from here and push it around the vehicle. So there's lots of things which are using power off those batteries all the time, and obviously we'll go through the battery indicator on the dash now, so we can show you, so you know how much power is in there and how long it lasts for as well. So up on the head-up display, it's nice and easy. It shows you a graph of where we are. So the main camper van pitch obviously on your water tanks, but the important one here is showing your engine battery, which is in here. So it's showing 3 hours 10 minutes. And it gives you the voltage that's on there as well and how much is being used. And now a couple of things you can also do from the head-up display as well is you actually do have a function which is maximum charging. So if you flick the screen to one side, you'll see they've got this button maximum charge. And if I press this now, you get a little button on here. You probably can't hear that now, but the engine revs have actually just raised on the vehicle, and they're revving up. And if you have a look at the rev counter, the vehicle's now revving a lot higher than it would normally do in a stationary position, not moving. And what it's actually doing is on the normal, just on tick over, the alternator wouldn't feed the vehicle well enough to produce a good charge on to charge the batteries up. What this does though is by revving the vehicle higher, you're getting a better output from the alternator which is coming through. So the alternator is now actually charging those batteries. So if, for example, you're stuck on a campsite somewhere and you can't, or you're on the side of the road and your batteries are getting quite low, and you haven't got the facility to plug in, or you don't want to go driving around for ages, you give them a bit of a boost. You can press that button there on the dash. That'll raise you have to have your engine running, and obviously it'll raise the revs on there and charge your batteries. And to deactivate that, just press the button again, turns it off, and then obviously your revs then will eventually just drop back to where they would normally be once the system finishes. We mentioned 2 auxiliary batteries, so one is under the passenger seat, you can see from here, and the other auxiliary battery is down here in the back bit. To actually get into that box now, you do have to remove this frame in the back. We have done a video on that as well, so you know how to remove it, but both those locations, you shouldn't need to get access to either of those 2 batteries anyway. They're maintenance free. One thing you may have noticed, because you're always good at pointing things out that's on the vehicle as well, the plug socket that's on this particular vehicle on the back is not a UK plug that's in there. And the reason for that is because this vehicle has just arrived. I think I explained that in one of the previous videos, but we have been waiting for quite a long time. It was actually stuck at the factory for a while. So because of that, this is actually one of the younger vehicles of the T6.1 that came out, and they were originally produced from the factory just with the actual European socket in there rather than the UK socket that's there. We'll be putting a UK socket in here eventually. I've actually got a load of these adapters. I found them quite useful when I go away, and we did the same thing for the Grand California. The first one we had those as well. The important thing to remember with these plugs as well is you need to make sure that it's one which is earthed. These are actually, even though it's only got 2 pins, they are actually a 3-pin plug, because your earth section's in there as well. So they are compatible with them as well from on there, but they weren't a huge amount of money. I do find them quite useful. And I suppose the last thing to talk about on the electrical system is the onboard inverter. Now the inverter used to be located on this B pillar just down the side here. It was a flat that you just flapped up. You had to put a 2-pin socket into it, like a travel adapter, something like that. The inverter would take the power from the batteries and transform that into mains electricity up into 230 240 volts that was on there. On the T5 and T6 models, that had 150 watts maximum output that was on there. They've actually moved that now, so that's now located on the driver's seat. There's just a flap which you open that's on there, and it's just a standard European type socket. Now the other slight differences as well, and I'll be honest, at this moment in time I don't have the answers for this one, so we will at some point post a comment and pin it on the comment box below, but it would appear on the 6.1 they've actually upgraded that to 300 watts of power, where previously it was 150 watts. So it looks like they've doubled that amount of power now to 300 watts. I'm just waiting for that to be confirmed, because in true fashion, the picture in the book is still showing at 150 watts, just so that we don't give you the wrong information that's on there as well. I mean, either way, 300 watts, 150 watts, you're not going to run a kettle, you're not going to run a microwave, things like that. If you're getting up to 300 watts, you might have a low powered kettle or something like that would work. You do find a lot of things work anyway on 12 volts. You can even get televisions that run on 12 volts nowadays, and even things like that can be quite low wattage as well. So you just need to check obviously against what appliances you actually want to plug in. But I've said it plenty of times before, for me it's mainly about things like charging laptops up. That's the main thing that I use it for, or for example if I'm charging camera batteries and things like that while I'm away, that's what I tend to use it for more than anything else. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, having a look at the electrical side of the California on the ocean and the coast. If you have, give us a thumbs up, give us a like as always. If you don't subscribe already, please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.